the Contractor's Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by contractorssecretweapon.com.
Okay, hey, this is Dave Negri with Contractor Secret Weapon again, and I've got Scott Dennison. This is part two of our talk, and we are going to talk about his book, Becoming the Top-Ranked Roofer, and Scott's been really gracious to be with us for an extended period today. So I'm excited about that because he's always fun to talk to. Scott, thanks so much for being with us and continuing this conversation about your book, which is really awesome.
Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. The first thing I'd say about the book is I actually gave you one of the irregular versions that came through.
Come on.
The actual name of the book is called Becoming Top Ranked.
Okay, well, I want my money back.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you a 100% refund. Becoming Top Ranked is a roofer's guide for dominating your local marketplace, outselling your competition, and achieving your dream life. And I think that touches all the things that I wish for the people that I've worked with over the years and for all the people I haven't worked with, but that are tradespeople. I really want them to know how to dominate their marketplace and to outsell their competition. And if we just stop right there, I'd say who doesn't want that? If you've been working in a business that you started in your head, dreamed of it, pursued it, and now it's real, who doesn't want to dominate their market and outsell their competition and in the process achieve a dream life?
Right.
Isn't that what you're doing this for?
We would hope so. But I know that a lot of times, as a contractor and being one myself, we get stuck in a rut. We get caught up in the weeds, and sometimes we lose track or focus on the things we really started out with because so many other things get in the way. But one of the interesting things, because I read your book, and I'm looking at it right now because I circled a lot of stuff. I read it on the plane the other day, and it was a real interesting. But you got the three different types of contractors. Can you explain about that so guys know where they are and where they might want to be and where they might want to go?
Well, I basically broke the thing down into, there's three different types of roofers that I've come in contact with, and they probably apply to all the trades. Mm-hmm. You've got a guy that I refer to as Joe. You've got a guy that is a John, and then you've got a Jack. And, I'm not really generalizing, and these are not real people that I'm talking about. They're sort of a compilation of all the different men and women I've met that are in this business. Joe is a guy who's not really a roofer. He's worked on a roofing crew for points in time over the years. He knows how to get shingles. He knows how to put shingles on. He could do a tar down, run a torch, or he can take buckets of tar up and do a built-up roof. He knows how to do those kinds of things. But where Joe really has trouble is in organizing himself to run a business. Joe's usually pretty visible because he's driving a beat-up pickup truck with a ladder hanging out of the back of it and a magnetic sign on the door, and that identifies him as a roofer. And you'll oftentimes see him driving around in neighborhoods knocking on doors. Now, it's not at all uncommon when you come across Joe to find he's got, like here in Florida, he'll have a pole saw in the back as well as the ladder. And he'll have a whole bunch of palm fronds back there because he couldn't find a roofing job to do, but he found an old lady that needed her trees cut to get the palm trees cut. He's like, well, I got a saw and I got some time and I got a ladder, so I can help you with that as long as I can make some money. And then the next guy up the rung is John. And one of the books that a lot of us in business have read, maybe your listeners have read it, I'm sure you've probably read it, is from Michael Gerber. It's called The E-Myth. Mm-hmm. And the E-Myth talked about the technician who becomes a business owner. And John is the prototypical, he's the prototypical technician. He's a good roofer. If there's a leak, he will find it. He can fix it. He's excellent at that. But when it comes to marketing his business like a business, he struggles. So, so that's your first two guys. You got Joe, who's sort of bouncing around and will take anything he can get for any amount of money just to keep himself going. And then you got John, who's a technician. He's a professional roofer. He's really good at it technically, but struggles to keep it going because he's not a businessman who thinks in terms of how to market your business. And then you got Jack. And Jack is a little on the rare side, but there's one in every town. I could go and search roofers in almost any city in America, probably every city in America, and I could pick Jack out pretty easily. Jack is the top-ranked roofer. And the reason is because Jack is a businessman. And here's the interesting thing. Jack is not actually a roofer. He's a business owner who sells roofing.
Mm-hmm.
And you could substitute roofing with anything.
Right.
He sells insulation. He sells windows. He sells landscaping. He does exteriors. Doesn't matter. Jack is a businessman, and it doesn't matter what he's selling. He knows how to get customers. So those are the three types.
Kind of interesting. Ultimately, the last guy is the guy that, and it doesn't matter what type of business he's in, he's a business owner who realizes that through his efforts in marketing, it brings him customers which he can sell to. In this particular case, when you're a top-ranked roofer, the roofing is what supplies him the money. Exactly.
There's good money in the roofing business if you're busy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one. He's a real good friend, and he does a ton of business.
Does very, very well.
Yeah.
Well, you and I have this common ground of having both come through the Dan Kennedy world.
Sure.
And Dan used to talk about he would refer to Jack slightly differently, but Jack was basically, he was not a roofer, he was a marketer who happened to sell roofing.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be anything. And those guys are very easy to spot. One of the reasons is they have the best truck, and all of their guys have good trucks. The whole crew is driving around in basically new stuff. They got new equipment. They have a nice office. They have quality tools. And just for the heck of it, you'll see Jack's sign on the outfield on the wall at the Little League game.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's set himself up in a way that when the team mom calls and says, Jack, we're a little short this year. We don't have enough money to get the kids uniforms. He's going, okay, I'll chip in. I'll help out. You're going to put my name on the shirts? Sure, I'll sponsor the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets his name on the outfield wall, and he gets to talk to the parents every once in a while that are putting their kids through the thing. And he's helping to grease the skids for that. Usually these are civic-minded people. They're engaged in stuff. They're involved in stuff. Joe, at the other end of the spectrum, he couldn't help the team because he doesn't have any money.
Right.
He's trying to get a new tire for his truck before the one that he's got blows out.
I know. Well, that's the neat thing is you see the business owners as they grow and they grow their businesses, and I've noticed it with a lot of the companies that I look at and just glance at driving down the road and stuff like that, and they take into consideration that every single thing they do that pertains to their business is marketing. Like the new trucks, the guys dressed in new uniforms, the new tools, because it's stuff that it portrays their whole company.
And it's not hard for those people to stick out, to stand out, to essentially be the only one in their field to a lot of customers.
Right.
I mentioned to you before we got on the recording about a guy that's a carpet cleaning friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
runs a big business here in Pinellas County. And as long as I've known him, his guys have always shown up in uniforms. From the day that they learned to wrap vehicles, he was one of the first ones to get his vans wrapped so that when they shows up, the guy that pulls up in front of your house is driving a company van, and it's washed, and it's neat, and it looks good. And, if you were to check his insurance, you'd think that it's actually in force. You know?
Yeah.
His people show up, they got name badges on, they've got company uniforms and hats on, they're clean. And then just for a second, think about the average carpet cleaner that shows up.
We've called them, Chuck in a truck.
Yes.
And that's not to be demeaning. It's just I don't think that they know better. Some do, most don't. I would say that most don't. But here again, they're not looking to or don't know how to find the ways to be better, or haven't come over to that mindset. Because it is a mindset. Everything we do is a mindset.
Well, it's fairly safe to say that we won't offend anybody by referring to Chuck in a Truck or Joe, because those guys aren't listening to your podcast.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
John's probably listening, and all of the Jacks listen to stuff like this.
Right.
And if somebody wants to know how do you get out of the world of being a Joe and become at least a John, well, education in your field is the trick there. And if you want to move from being either one of the Joes or Dons to being a Jack, the trick is to become a master marketer. Not to become a roofer, but to become a marketer of roofing.
Right.
And you could substitute whatever. It doesn't matter what you're selling. Just become a marketer and learn how to acquire customers.
So, So I am passionate about that, about the marketing and getting new customers and all. Now, with your top-ranked roofer system, which it really is a system that you've created, you have sort of like a pathway to help your clients get to their desired results. So can you lay that out a little bit for our listeners?
It gets a little technical, so I'll try to keep it at the very high level.
Okay.
Let me tell you the underlying premise of it. I noticed over the first 3 years that I was working doing SEO-related stuff, marketing of businesses online, helping people skin this cat. I noticed that all of the ones who responded well to my marketing and all of the ones who ultimately engaged with me in conversation and chose to try my service had done it before. They had been aware of the power of SEO. They knew that if they could become, if they could be found at the top of a search result page for an important keyword, that they would do more business.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who said no to what we were doing had generally never tried it before and didn't believe in it. So the guys who always bought were people who had tried it, but it didn't work. And I started paying really close attention to the ones who had tried it, but didn't get it to work. And I found more often than not, they had been sold a bill of goods.
Okay.
Well, ethically, that doesn't work for me. I have a really hard time watching hardworking men and women who start a business go out in an honest attempt to learn or partner with somebody that will help them do even better and end up getting ripped off. And so that was kind of the genesis of what I was wanting to do something like this for. And the actual book came as a result of explaining this to people in articles that I was writing and in conversations I was having. And I said, I don't have anything to hide, so let me just write down what I do and tell you what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
And one of two responses. Well, there's a number of responses, but one response would be you could completely ignore, do what you're doing now and get what you're getting now, and neither one of us have to cross paths or do business, and it's all fine. The second thing is to say, well, I'm going to study this and, maybe get some coaching or maybe get some help from Scott to really just apply what he's teaching in the book. And I don't really have a formal training program at this point. I've thought about it, but I just haven't gotten to the point where it's been demanded of me to do it.
Right.
So I don't really have a formal way to teach it, but occasionally somebody will call and say, hey, can you come, sit elbow to elbow with me and help me to implement this? And we can always find a way to work that out. The third guy is the one who says, well, my value to my family and to my business is being excellent at what I do. And what I'm really good is working with my customers and selling roofing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my crew is excellent at putting the roofing on, and then I've got a business that's strong enough to stand behind it. That guy doesn't want to spend his time, doesn't see the value in spending his time or his effort or his money to learn how to do something that somebody will always be better than him.
Well, yeah, so not only that, he's going to get a return.
Right. So he goes out into the market and he looks for somebody to hire. And this is where it works out in some cases, and in most cases they end up getting less than what they'd hoped.
Mm-hmm.
I studied that intently to try to figure out why that was happening. And the vast majority of it was because the business owners who wanted to buy SEO didn't know what questions to ask. And so they were always left at the mercy of the seller to ask and answer their own questions. And most times they were answering the questions either fraudulently, giving you false information,
yeah, or
they were just telling you what they thought that was right, and with no ethical challenge involved. They just didn't know what to do. They weren't very good at it. And I guess that's become one of my other gripes about the whole industry at large, is that there's no licensing body. There's nobody that says, prove to me you know the first thing about SEO. And many, many contractors don't hire somebody based on proof. See, if somebody said to me, can you prove to me that you know what you're doing? Well, I could answer them, sure. I mean, I could prove it. But when they go, no, I want to see some real proof, well, I could pull out a sheet that a client gave to me that shows that in 2016, he installed over 500 roofs, which was close to $8 million in business.
Sweet.
And easily, $4 million of that came directly from the work that I was doing. I'm looking at the sheet right here in front of me, and Google generated 19% of his leads, and that's just Google organic, and then AdWords was another 5% of his leads.
Wow, that's sweet.
And then you go from there, and you could say you could probably make a logical argument that, well, some of the referrals that came from customers,
sure,
would have never happened had they not have found him on Google the first time. And some of the sales that came from yard signs, same scenario.
Sure.
You only put a yard sign up when you're doing a job. Well, if you hadn't sold that job, there'd be no yard sign. And if that job came from the SEO, from Google or from AdWords, then then we would get some credit for that.
Right.
It doesn't really matter to me that we're exactly how many sales made on this, because all I ever do when I get a client is I promise them that you're going to make money if you work with me. Well, how can you promise that I'm going to make money? Well, I'm going to guarantee it in writing that you get at least $3 for every dollar you're paying me. Now, occasionally I'll have somebody want to clarify that and say, I'm going to get $3 in profit for every dollar you are paid.
No.
No, it's $3 in revenue. But if you get 3, if you give me 1 and I give you 3,
you're going to keep 1.5.
Well, you're probably going to keep 1.5, but your natural inclination is probably going to be to hand me another $1 to see if I'll give you 3 more.
Yeah, I would. I'd run a printing press. Yeah, that's an infinite return.
Right. And I've had some discussions with people, and it actually became a sort of an interesting way to filter out people that really weren't jacks at all by the guy that would say, well, no, I mean, $3 for every $1, that's not worth it to me.
Oh my goodness.
And so, because they're looking at it wrong. They're not considering the lifetime value of the client. They're just looking at what they got today, and they're like, $3 for one is not enough. But let me ask you a question. This particular client's marketing cost was about $30,000 last year. He wrote about $8 million in sales, or installed about $8 million in roofing.
Okay.
Of which easily, from his own calculations in his system, I could take credit for half of that. So
that's more than a 3-to-1 return.
Yeah, it's more like 100-to-1 return.
Yeah, and you're guaranteeing a 3-to-1 return.
I'm guaranteeing 3-to-1, and so we the world we come from, we talk a lot about risk reducers.
Yeah,
and risk elimination is even better, and that's what this is. I mean, we just eliminate risk. And in all the cases I've worked on, I can only think of one where we couldn't pull it off, and it was because the town that we were working in was so small. It was this little tiny town up on Lake Michigan, and in the first 3 months there was like 8 searches for a roof within 2 counties.
Wow. Yeah, you can't do anything about that.
There was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lead, and eventually the guy said, I don't think that there's going to be 3-to-1. Are you going to work for free? And I said, well, my guarantee says that I would. And he goes, I don't expect you to work for free. Why don't we just call it off? There's just not enough activity up there.
Yeah.
He goes, for what I paid you, I got a beautiful website, and I know the website converts, so whatever traffic shows up, I get the lead. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of, So a big part of what we do, in educating people is in laying out the fact that there's maybe, I guess there's really 3 or 4 different levels to it. But the first thing is you got to have the proper foundation underneath of your business. And when I talk about the proper foundation, I mean having your business set up exactly the way it should be in Google. Google has a lot of tools that are all tied together and talking to one another, and it's this knowledge-based system that they've created. It's self-learning. And as they gather data on your business, Google is finding out and getting smarter and smarter about who your customer is. And your marketing gets more and more effective over time.
Wow.
And so when I say setting up your account properly in Google, I'm talking about opening up a fresh Gmail account for your business, and then using that Gmail account to open up a fresh analytics account, a fresh Google AdWords account, a fresh Google console, which used to be Webmaster Tools, and even the YouTube channel, all based on that one new email address.
So it's tying everything together.
Ties everything together. That's so sweet. That they can all talk to each other. And you get the full maximum advantage. The second thing that's critical is to determine what your customer is supposed to do. How do they respond to whatever you're putting out? It is amazing to me, if you just go look at as many websites as I do, how few websites include a clear, understandable call to action.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they put a phone number up there, but they don't say call for an appointment or request an estimate.
Right.
Or in the roofing business, oftentimes it's to get an inspection.
Yeah.
when you tie the call to action together with a method of response rates go way up. And I've had people that will look at their website and they'll go, well, my phone number's right there, and over here it says to call me. And I said, well, the people are not connecting the dots. Well, you're confusing them.
Well, not only that, but like now, I'm thinking about, the going back to the mobile site. I mean, if you're on your phone and you're at your roofer's and he's got call for your free inspection, you'd want that button. You don't even want to call. You want a button that would just call right then and there to make it easier for you. Particularly
as we move more to the mobile environment, you definitely want your phone number in the top part of your website to be click to call.
Yeah.
Because that's what people are going to do. They're going to touch the screen, and if it doesn't dial, well, you might lose them right then and there. Because they're so used to that now on professional websites, you just click the phone number and it dials. It pops up on your screen. You want to call that number? Okay, good. We'll call. So once you've got the call to action clear and you've got the proper foundation, the next area that is terribly weak, and I'll bet every one of I wouldn't go so far as everyone, because I don't like absolutes like that. But I would say a large percentage, if they were to go look at the homepage of their website right now, they would fail what I call the uniqueness test. And the first thing is just to look at the words that are on the homepage of your site and count the number of times you say we, I, and me.
Okay.
Versus you and your.
Mm-hmm.
Because the person who's looking at your site is not terribly concerned about you at this point. They have a problem, and they're looking for a solution to their problem.
Yes.
So if the language on your site talks about you or problem, and then slowly pivots to the fact that we could solve that problem, and then points to things that make you different and unique, you will stand out completely from all of your competitors.
So
but most of the sites don't communicate any uniqueness at all.
Right.
So they miss out.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is, because I really want to drive this point, what I'm hearing you say is that the website is not selling anything. It's not trying to sell anything. A good website is there to provide a solution to the problem that they need solved.
Yes. There's an awful lot of websites that try too hard to close the sale. But your website's not designed to close the sale. It's designed to get them to contact you, and people do business with people that they like and people that trust. So, your website should make them identify you as someone that's likable, that they could trust, that they feel like they can trust, and to the degree that they like you and trust you enough to call you the first time, then you have a chance to actually make the sale. But to expect your website to make the sale is sometimes, naive, because it doesn't happen very often.
No, it gives them the information that they need. And I have to tell you the story that happened the other day. It's really wild, and it just brings home this fact that more and more people already know who they're going to do business with because they've already done the research, and they've decided to call you because of the research they've done on Google. And so the other day I go and I do, still do some painting. So I went in an estimate. They called. So we want you to come by and give us a painting estimate. So I go, okay. So first question is, how did you hear about us? My wife found you on Google. I said, okay, great. So I go around and take measurements, and she says, do you have a color chart so I can pick colors? She had already decided before I even gave her a price who she was going to do business with.
Now, that's a beautiful story, and it's fantastic that it happened to you.
Yeah.
Here's the flip side that all of your listeners should hear. People are being filtered out by that same process.
Absolutely, yes.
There were nine other companies on the page in the blue links at the bottom where they found you. there were 2 other businesses in the map, in the 3 box where you were listed.
Right.
And I don't know if you're running AdWords too, but if they found you in the map and they saw you in the blue links at the bottom, well, there were other companies listed there too.
Absolutely.
And they called you ready to buy. Do you suppose at least one of those other companies was filtered out saying, I would not buy from these people?
Well, yeah, because I'm sure that mine was not the only one she looked at.
You're right. People will generally look at 3 or 4
right.
before they narrow it down. And many of them will, just by looking at the title tag that shows up as the blue link in search, and the meta description underneath of that blue link. So if you picture a search result page, you've got the blue link, which when you click on it, it takes me to your website. The little 2 lines of text underneath of that is information you provide to Google, but it's amazing to me how many people don't do it. And so what Google grabs from your website and presents as your description reads like gibberish. And it's not going to sell people on calling you. If anything, it's going to sell them on not calling you. So you obviously passed all those tests, and you earned the business from it. And there's 9 other people that didn't even know that your customer was looking for a painter.
Right.
Because they never even heard about the opportunity.
Right. So I just thought that was just one of those, because we've been talking about it lately. They've already picked, they've already chosen, they've already done their research, and they've decided to call you.
Well, and we touched one other thing earlier in the call before the recording, the concept of reviews.
Right.
And trust me when I say, if they find you in search and they go looking for your company after they've picked you out of the blue links, and now they're doing some poking around, they're checking you out, almost everybody will look at your Google reviews.
Right.
If you don't have any, you're missing a big opportunity. If you have some that are terrible, you're really hurting yourself.
Sure. Because
people care a lot more about what your customers say about you than what you say about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what you say about you is sort of irrelevant. It's what the people who've already given you money say about you that matters the most.
Right, because I love me,
Well, it's just important to the person that they get some sort of objective glance at who you are, because they know you're going to say, hey, we've been in business 25 years and we're fantastic at this.
Yeah. That means that I've learned 1 year, and I've repeated that process for 24 more.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of those folks out there.
I know. I know.
Okay, so if you've got a solid foundation and you've got some uniqueness, and now you can get to the point of really doing some powerful stuff to your site in optimizing things. And I coined a phrase a while back that if you want to be the top-ranked roofer, you ultimately want to triple optimize your business. And I call it triple optimization because there's 3 primary places that Google can show you or you can get traffic from on one search page. There's the AdWords at the top. Mm-hmm. And those are the 2 ads at the top and 3 or 4 at the bottom. Sometimes there's 3 and maybe even 4 at the top, above anything else. And so that's a viable source of traffic all by itself. But those are paid ads, and you have to pay Google when people click on your ad. The second place to get traffic from Google is in the Google My Business, the map section in the middle of the page. Mm-hmm. And they used to have 7 businesses listed there, but over time they've reduced it, and now there's only 3. Now there's still, all the others are hidden behind the wall, but there's 3 that have risen to the top, and Google decides to show them.
Now, do they rotate around, or do they say they're pretty much the same?
it's going to move up and down based on your ranking.
Okay.
I mean, they're like every other thing that Google's doing. They're adjusting their rankings daily. So all of the forces, all of the factors that they're considering in your website are telling them where to slot your site compared to your competitor.
Okay.
And then the third place is in those the blue links in the organic section at the bottom. And most people that I've talked to, they just want to be in the blue links at the bottom. I say, well, then you're cutting out of almost half the searches.
Yeah.
Because there's an awful lot of people never even get to the bottom of the page anymore. They see a qualified company advertising at the top, they click on that one, and if they're moved into the process and decide to just follow it out, they never even got to see your ad at the bottom. Or let's say your ad's not very good in the blue links at the bottom. Chances are you're missing a lot of business. So those are three places. We call it triple optimization because in a perfect scenario, you want to be optimized for all three. If you want to get a really well optimized site, you're going to have to know what your keywords are. In fact, we talk about how roofers get hurt or contractors get hurt by SEO types.
Uh-huh.
One of the biggest scams that's run for years now is and you've all gotten an email. Every one of the listeners has gotten an email from somebody that said, "I'll get you on page 1 of Google."
I get all the calls all the time.
Okay, and so they're promising you that, and they spin all kinds of stories to get you to do it. And then they turn around in 3 days and they tell you, "See, look, we got you. You're on the first page of Google." But it's for a keyword that nobody searches for, and there's no competition. So just a handful of links will give it enough authority to rank for a keyword that nobody cares about.
Right.
But if you're in Denver, you want to rank for roofing Denver or Denver roofing.
Right.
And that's not going to be one that the guy's going to be able to get you ranked for standing on his head while he's sleeping and drinking a beer. I'm kind of mocking them, but the truth of the matter is it's going to take some work to get you ranked for Denver roofing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of competitors for that. So when it comes to the way that we tend to teach this or the way that we've taught our clients for years how to do this, and in this book, just buying a $14 book, you can learn how to do this. We're going to teach you the basics of using AdWords and getting a properly written ad and using a landing page that allows you to take pay-per-click traffic from Google and profit from it. There's probably a number of listeners that have tried AdWords and says it doesn't work. Have you ever talked to anybody that lost a boatload of money?
Yeah.
Trying to do AdWords?
Only because they tried to do something that they're not good at, and they lost their money, and now they're blaming Google for their inexperience.
Well, and there's a funny thing that goes on at Google that most people don't realize, is that almost half of their money comes from people that are doing AdWords wrong, that are making mistakes. And people that are in the industry refer to that as Google's stupidity tax. And they've been confronted about it, and they say, well, half of our revenue comes from this. And one of the senior managers was apparently quoted as saying that if there was anything I could do differently about it, I would have more of our money come from stupidity tax. Because in essence, they know that it's a difficult game to play, and, it would be like trying to go down the Amazon River without a guide.
But it's not any different than any other marketing, vanity marketing. Because that doesn't work, but people still spend tons of money into it, and they keep taking the money knowing full well it's not going to work. So why is Google any different than anybody else?
Well, there's a hot debate now about the future of television advertising, because the people trying to sell television ads are suggesting that their business, that they provide you with eyeballs. They give you exposure to X number of millions of eyeballs. And because we've just lived through this election where there was the prominence of fake news, well, now there's advertisers going, well, can you prove to me that those are not fake eyeballs?
Oh, wow.
Tell me who these supposed eyeballs are.
Yeah.
Are they real people? Are they prospects for me? Do they actually have a buying history? Do they spend money?
Yeah, you can't measure that.
And when you compare it to what the information you get from AdWords, AdWords will tell you almost anything you'd want to know about who's clicking on your ads, where they're looking at, what they're looking for, the term that they typed into the search engine. I can see all of that. It's incredibly powerful. And ultimately, direct response, which is pay-per-click advertising.
Sure, absolutely.
It's digital direct response, is going to put the exposures game out of business. You know, the idea that you're buying X number of eyeballs. Well, people are going to, in fact, I know of one company that's openly telling TV companies, TV advertisers, that if you want to sell to me, you've got to give me a CPA pricing, meaning a cost per action. In other words, I'm not willing to pay for your millions of eyeballs.
Right.
I am willing to pay you a premium for every lead you generate.
Yeah. That's not working out very well.
So, you know, from my perspective, it's a good time to be able to help people to generate leads from the internet, because there's going to be a demand for it that exceeds what I can do.
Sure. This is really some awesome stuff. The book, you guys that are listening, you need to go to Scott's website and get his book. You said it's $14. If it was $100, it'd be worth it.
Well, just go over to Amazon and just Google or go to Amazon and just look for Becoming Top Ranked. You'll see it's a blue and white book. It's got a picture of a roof on the front.
Yeah.
The guy that wrote the foreword is a man named Ron Marks, and Ron is he's a man I've actually known for a long time, but he was a mentor of mine 20 years ago. But he and I reconnected not too long ago, and he is actually selling to roofers, and his angle is helping them increase the sales of the leads that they get.
Cool.
And so, and he and I reconnected, and we both realized we're serving the roofing industry. It was a natural for us to pair up.
Sure.
And sometime this year we'll probably write another book for roofers, but I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But you can go to Amazon. It's worth $14. If you think it's a waste of your money, just email me and I'll give you your money back. I mean, but I don't see how you could go wrong.
No, it was really good, and it was really good there was so much stuff in your book, just mind thought-provoking stuff, and how to do stuff, and the thing that I came away with, honestly, because I'm a business person, I'm going, I don't want to do this stuff. I'd hire Scott to do it. Because I would want the results. I knew that. I mean, I'm good at what I do. I mean, and I'm good at marketing, but there's certain stuff that there's stuff I don't want to do. But I want the results. So I'm willing to pay somebody to get the results so that I can do the stuff I want to do.
Well, that is that puts you squarely in the realm of being a jack.
Yeah. And not a jack of all trades.
No. No, not a jack of all trades.
No, I know.
Truly, from a perspective of being a marketer who sells, who sells roof cleaning services and painting services and the other things that Elite does.
Yeah.
You're a marketing guy, and you don't have to spend a lot of time with you and breaking bread with you to know that Yeah, you know how to clean a roof and you know how to paint a house, but you're not a roof cleaner and you're not a painter.
Yeah.
You're a marketing guy who sells services.
Right.
And you could go into the business of selling fireplaces or landscaping or anything you wanted, and you do just fine.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because it's all about the marketing. Cool, Scott. This has really been awesome. I love talking with you. We're gonna have to have breakfast again.
We'll do it.
All right. So,
in fact, just as an aside, a friend of mine took me to Johnny Grit's last week.
Oh, yeah, I've been there a few times. It's pretty good.
It was good.
Yeah.
And right here in the neighborhood. So
it is. It is
easy to get to.
That is cool. That's awesome. So thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Contractor's Secret Weapon podcast with Dave Negri. We would love to hear your comments about this episode, so visit us online at www.contractorsecretweapon.com and let us hear your thoughts. If you were listening via iTunes, please leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive, the more other contractors will benefit from this show. Thank you, and see you next time here on the Contractor's Secret Weapon podcast.